Good morning and welcome to Essential Ingredients. I'm Justine Reichman, your host, and today we have José Hernandez. Welcome, José.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us, José. I'm so excited to learn a little bit about you and a little bit about your story and what you're building there, because it sounds super interesting, from keto to paleo to building a brand that can really talk to a lot of the new challenges and new ways that people are thinking around about food and the diets and lifestyles that they're building for themselves. So can you tell us a little bit about your story and what you're building?
Absolutely. I guess I'll start with a quick intro about myself. I'm a double science guy. I like science. I like, learning about the way things work. So when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I immediately decided to tackle it with food. I figured, if the food that I'm eating is raising my blood sugar, then maybe the food that I eat can lower it. And so I changed my diet, and in about 2.5 months, I reversed my blood sugar back down to regular levels. And I did it all through food, no supplements, no medicine. And, it was tough. My doctor thought I was crazy, but, in the process, I had to give up dessert, and I had to give up breads and things that I really like to eat. So after a few years of trying to sate my sweet tooth, and failing with like ice cream and feeling awful, I decided to make something for myself. And so I started baking, and my roommate David was like, hey, this is pretty good. We should see if people want to eat this. And I was like, okay, let's try. So we gave out some samples. People liked it, and we launched ChipMonk shortly thereafter.
Wow, that's really cool. And I don't know if you probably do know this, but food as medicine is a really hot topic. So I'm sure that this is not new to you, right?
Yeah, I actually quote that all the time. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food.
I love that. And it's so true. And I think that more often than not, or, it's turned into a whole conversation and way of talking about preventative medicine,
Mm-hmm.
curative medicine, and not necessarily in lieu of, because I don't want to go down that route. If you have breast cancer, really go get the surgery, right? but if you there are ways to support our immune system, and like what you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
help our bodies heal themselves. So I love that. And we do a lot of conversations on that, but that's a whole different topic, for a whole different day, where we bring in doctors and all sorts of things. And I'd love to do that with you. But right now we want to focus on ChipMonk, and we want to focus on you, and we want to focus on, so walk me through this. You started literally in your kitchen. It sounds you live, where do you live?
I'm in Houston. So
you live with your roommate David in Houston, and you're baking cookies.
Initially, I started making bread, cookies, brownies. There was a lot of accidents, a lot of stuff I didn't like. So we were like, let's lean into cookies, because we can mass produce this eventually. And so yeah.
I'm sorry, before you go on, were you working full time at this moment?
I was, yeah.
Okay, so you're working full time, you're cooking and baking cookies and thinking you're going to mass produce this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had a picture of what was going on. Okay, so now go on.
So we actually worked at an entrepreneurial space. It's called The Cannon. It's kind of like WeWork, but it's for startups here in Houston. And so being around all these new startups and working for one, I wanted my own, and David did too. And we were like, there's got to be something, And eventually the cookies like clicked. We were like, let's do this. Let's provide, readily available prepackaged dessert that doesn't make someone like you with diabetes crash. I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. And so that's why I was thinking like mass produced. So yeah, we did start in our kitchen. We immediately had to find an actual kitchen to bake out of, because you can't ship things unless you're in a commercial kitchen space. So we got that pretty quickly. We subleased it from a catering company, and now we're building out our own. So it's pretty exciting.
Wow. So okay, so we went from A to Z very quickly here, but can you tell us more about that whole, about that whole journey?
Neither one of us had any experience in food. He's the business side. He's like the accounting major, and I'm this double science guy. So between both of us, we kind of had to learn to do everything. It's actually been a really big challenge, but it's been fun too, figuring things out for the first time, learning to do marketing, for instance, learning to do massive batches of cookies at a time, like 4,000 cookies, managing a team, all that good stuff. It's been a lot. Figuring out packaging, shipping. There's just so many aspects of the business that we had to learn between two people. And honestly, like it's a lot of hats to wear, but we're getting through it.
Wow. So walk me through the timeline. When did this all start?
This started in January of 2019. That was the first time I baked. We had ChipMonk LLC by February, and we were in a commercial kitchen space by March. April. Sometime around then, we were shipping over the summer, and then we started picking up traction towards the holidays. So after a big shout out from like Keto Connect in January of the following year, we like really saw our sales spike. So yeah, we're about a year and 10 months into it right now.
Okay. And so when did you go from 2 people to a team of?
Well, 3 really. We have independent contractors that help us. It's mainly like my brother and his high school friends that like we like showed how to bake, and it started out of necessity. I needed an extra pair of hands, so I called my brother, and then we needed more hands, and I was like, call your friends. And so now we have a team of high schoolers and one of their moms actually who's working with us now. So yeah, there's on our bigger bakes, there's about 8 of us baking, but day-to-day operations, it's David, Elta, and I for the most part.
Wonderful. That's awesome. And then, so now are you still working full time?
No, we actually both made that jump pretty early on. I did really early on, like a few months in. David did it about 10 months in. Okay. And we've just been riding the roller coaster that is startup life ever since.
So what was that? What was the aha moment, or that moment that made you take that leap from being a hobby or a side hustle to now being your full-time gig?
I think we both saw the potential pretty early on. I especially knew how prominent something like this would be in the diabetic community, and keto was like really catching on at the time. And so sometimes you just kind of have to take a leap of faith and jump before you actually know that the ground is not going to hit you on the way down. So I think David described startups once to me as jumping off a cliff and building a plane before you crash. That's effectively what you're doing. You have so much money and so much time, and you have to get those pieces working together before you hit the ground. And so it basically needed all of our attention, and there's just no way we could do it while also manning another job.
So let's go back to the beginning for a minute. So when you say you started with bread and then you went to cookies, what was the first thing that you started with, not just for yourself, but to sell?
Cookies. So we actually started selling cookies first, but I meant like I personally wanted to make bread for myself because I just wanted something to put butter on and eat.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Everything for me is a vehicle to eat butter.
Exactly. Yeah, perfect. Me too. So that's how I feel about bread. And I was like, I need to make some bread. And the bread was really eggy. There was a lot of eggs involved. It didn't really rise. And so there's a lot of almond flour. It wasn't bad, but I don't think I can mass produce that. And I really don't think the shelf life would really allow me to either. Cookies, on the other hand, easier to do. There's more variety. You can make different flavors. And if you package them and seal them, then their shelf life goes up pretty exponentially. So that's kind of what we decided to do.
What was the first kind of cookie that you made and sold?
Chocolate chip.
Okay. And now how many different kinds of cookies are you selling? Right
now we have 6 staple cookie flavors. We do seasonals all the time. We also do bites, which are these little balls. We call them cookie balls. They're half the size of our cookies. And we have 4 flavors of that with a 5th seasonal. And so we like to keep our audience engaged. And so anyone that subscribes to our newsletter gets exclusive access to small batch of flavors. Like we made a buttered pecan the other day.
That sounds good. I want that.
Yeah, it was good. And we were like, guys, we made like 50 pouches of this. If anyone wants to buy one, or like if you order a certain amount, we'll give it to you for free. And so not only does it keep our community actively engaged with us, but at the same time, we give them, added benefits of being customers of ours.
That's awesome. So how large is your community right now?
Newsletter about approaching 5,000. And from there, social media is slowly growing. We're at like 7,000 to 8,000 on Instagram. I don't know how many followers on Facebook, but we have a pretty sizable following. I see the same names all the time. So we always write handwritten notes. And so people tend to like that.
So, you guys are not marketers, you're not social media gurus, you're a scientist and an accountant. So some might ask, how did you build this following and this community with no expertise or background in that? Because that's a pretty good engaged following.
Yeah, trial and error, really. Just trying a lot of different things, reaching out to a lot of social media outlets. I actually got published in the Houston Chronicle in May, and that was a big boost of traffic and sales for us. And it's all really just being genuine, sticking true to like your goals and your mission as a company. I personally love to talk, so it's not hard for me to go out and like say hello to people and like try to make things happen. We used to go to farmers markets all the time, and we would like face to face our customers, but it's hot in Houston and we just can't do it over the summer. So maybe we'll do it during the holiday season, but direct to consumer via e-commerce has been our best platform.
All right, well, we're just going to take a short break and have a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. I want to thank today's sponsor, Next Gen Chef. Next Gen Chef feeds members with the knowledge and tools that they need to create concepts with purpose and succeed. If you're listening today, they are offering a 1-year subscription for any new founder that wants to participate at a special discounted rate. For more information, email team@nextgenchef.com. If you're interested in becoming a member or just a part of the community, email NextGenChef at team@nextgenchef.com. You can also follow them on Instagram at NextGenChef, as well as on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Thank you again, Next Gen Chef, for making this podcast possible. Together, we can change the future of food. So to that note, though, I want to ask, so you're direct to consumer, you're doing this a lot online, right?
Mm-hmm.
From what you're saying, that's your largest audience. I got to imagine everybody that's direct to consumer right now and selling online, COVID has really upped their sales, and they're doing well. How has it impacted you, or has it not really had an effect on your sales?
In the beginning, I think it was very positive. People were more health conscious. Their health was, more top of mind. So people were looking and actively seeking for things like ours, better for you cookies made with, almonds and seeds versus, flours and sugar. But I think as the economy has been hit a little bit harder, selling specialty food can be a challenge, especially with, all the big names like getting into email marketing and like online marketing. It's been tough. We have to spend more to reach the same amount of people now because there's so many other people in the space, but we're trying to do our best. At the end of the day, the best product.
Pardon?
I was going to say at the end of the day that the best tasting product wins, but they've got to physically get it and eat it first.
Well, I think it's the product, but I also think it's the story. And given you like to speak so much and you're good at it and you come across genuine, authentic, I think you have that playing as a strength because you get to share your story and it's really a personal one at that. And to be able to say that you built this to fulfill a need that you had and that so many others had. And I think it's heartwarming and people can connect with that. And there's so many other people out there that would love to be able to do that, frankly, right?
I would hope so, yeah.
And to that end, people out there looking for solutions that taste good. And the fact that you built one because you were missing these items, you're really aware of what it tastes like, and you wanted to build something that was going to replicate that and solve that problem for you. So exactly. I think that that's a compelling story. And I don't mean story in the sense that, I mean that it's personal, that, when you share that, I get it. It's like I don't drink, I don't eat dairy, I don't eat gluten, I don't eat all those things. And when I can find a great bread that replicates that feeling of that gooey bread inside, and I can smother it with butter and it's chewy, I'm so excited because then I found my vehicle for my butter.
I relate to that so well.
You know, and then I like things without sugar because somehow sugar doesn't agree with me. I just don't, I don't like it. So I get excited when I find that. And so when I hear your story, I'm like, wow, there's somebody out there like me that's creating a product for me too. I may not be diabetic, but there's somebody out there creating something that I can eat. And so it just makes me that much more excited about all these new innovative products and hearing your story.
You know, it's funny that you say that because we did start off specifically to address the sugar issue in food and the diabetic community specifically. But our product is so much because of that. We're gluten-free, we're low in carbs, so keto is a big thing. And so anyone doing keto diets or avoiding sugar or trying to avoid extra processed carbs, we all of a sudden become this very viable option for so many people. When we started specifically for one audience and kind of branched into like 4 or 5.
Yeah, and it's interesting that as your products developed and as you learn more about the people that are interested in this, your audience grew, right? Because originally you were the audience and you're like, all people like me are the audience. But then you learn more and you're like, oh, well, all people like this and this and this and this, and it expands. And you realize that reach is so much greater than what you originally thought. And that there's so many people that are connecting with your story and going to find your chipmunk cookies to be the next best thing or the best thing on the market for them. I wish I ate eggs because I could probably eat them, but I don't eat eggs either.
I have a single vegan option for you. It's our chocolate chip. So
okay.
I'll have to send you some.
Okay, I would love that. I would love that. That would be awesome because I'm always looking for a good cookie and I don't love very sweet. I can't do eggs. And okay, that sounds exciting. Awesome.
Yeah, we were kind of forced into doing that because here in Houston, the first customers would always ask us about vegan products and they're like, hey, do you have anything that's vegan? And I was like, no, but I can try. And so we made our chocolate chip a vegan option and it's really tasty.
Okay.
It's just it's a little bit different from everything else because it has chia seeds and flax seeds instead of egg.
Okay.
Coconut oil instead of butter, but it's still great ingredients.
Clearly, I'm not vegan since I told you that I eat most things as a vehicle to eat butter, but but I do go for the vegan option since I don't eat eggs. I'm excited. That's great. So what's the consistency of that cookie? Does it crumble more?
It's a really soft baked product. Think of it like a muffin top. People describe
Oh, I like that.
All the time. They're fluffy. They're soft. Unfortunately, we can't make crispy cookies. Allulose is it draws a lot of water and moisture into the cookies. So the cookies are very moist. They're tasty. But if we try to make them crunchy, they burn. So people have to love soft cookies for them to love chipmunk.
Okay, well, for me that works. I was the kid that used to make the what were the Duncan Hines or whatever kind you put in the oven.
Oh yeah,
the ones that came in the Pillsbury ones. I would put them.
Oh yeah.
And I liked them par baked, like so that they were half raw and half cooked. They were really soft.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's how I like my cookies too.
That's how I like my cookies. So awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the kinds of ingredients you use? I mean, I know you're really, from what I understand, it's a really clean product. And so I know that for a lot of our listeners, they're really interested in keto and gluten-free and all these different kinds of options, but equally what's important is the kinds of ingredients that go into making it. So if you could talk a little bit about that, I'd love that.
Yeah, of course. So when I first saw a cookie recipe, I was like, I need to recreate this, but there's so many ingredients on here that I can't have. So the first thing I saw was the flour. I can't have all-purpose flour. It's going to spike my blood sugar way too fast. So I started looking for alternatives and I stumbled upon almond flour. So I was like, okay, let's start with that. Almonds, like I eat nuts all the time. Let's just replace a handful of nuts as a flour into a cookie. So from there, I was like, oh, I can't have the sugar either. And the sugar was actually one of the hardest things to replace because a lot of the sweeteners out there have aftertaste or they still affect blood sugar. A lot of them are sugar alcohols, and they're going to affect your stomach too. So none of that was great for me. So I was looking for something naturally occurring. And so monk fruit was the first thing I stumbled upon. It's actually a little melon that grows on a vine. They mash it into like a liquid. It dries out into a powder. Zero everything, 0 calories, 0 carbs.
I'm sorry. I just was talking about monk fruit the other day at Sun Life when I was getting a smoothie. And they were saying that it doesn't change the taste at all.
It doesn't, no. And it's really, really sweet. So a really small amount goes a long way.
Yeah.
And it's actually an antioxidant that gives it all its sweetness. So you're not getting any carbs or any sugar or anything from monk fruit. But by itself, it can't replace sugar because you need so little of it. You still need to fill that void in the recipe. And so I was like, I need another sweetener. What else can I find? And I eventually found allulose. The OSC at the end is like fructose or glucose. It's a naturally occurring sugar. It's just really rare in nature. So that means that our bodies just never had time to develop proteins and enzymes to digest it. So you can taste and recognize that it's sweet, but you can't metabolize it. So it's 1/10 of the calories, 70% of the sweetness, and it's like the perfect sugar alternative. So those are some of the main ingredients. From there, we had to fill in the gaps. Instead of using like guar gums and like binding agents, we use roots and psyllium husks. So just trying to keep it as clean as possible. I'm a big fan of like wholesome ingredients and just eating from the earth. If you have to process it a whole lot before you eat it, it's probably not going to be the best. So just trying to keep that in mind as we build products out.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and especially for people building products with purpose, right? And building better for you products. I know that some of our listeners are building better for you products. They're entrepreneurs building better for you food and beverage entrepreneurs. And I'm wondering, you've had quite a success in the short period of time that you've built your business. Are there any tips that you might share with our listeners today?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually wrote them down. So the first thing is probably the most important. You have to be in it because you care enough, and you have to care enough to ride it out for the long term. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something you're going to have to spend lots and lots of effort and time in. And unfortunately, a lot of people in the startup world fail because they give up. So be prepared to be in it for the long run. So care about your product. Number 2, you have to know your margins. Make sure you get an accountant, get a good team member, find a good team to build your business around. But especially like knowing the price of your business, of your costs is really important. You need to price things correctly, or you'll go out of business. So you can't really help the world if you're not selling to the world anymore. I personally think this one matters the most. The product has to be a good product. It has to sell. Try to sell it before you invest time into it. Make a prototype of the product, give it to your friends, try to sell it to your friends, start there, and then kind of run with it. After that, you have to have good packaging. It's very, very important. It's something we didn't really put a lot of emphasis in the beginning. We had like these like clear bags, and we would put stickers on them. But if you ever want to be in retail, or if you ever want to stand out on the shelf, even like on like the Amazon shelf, you have to have pretty packaging that draws the eye. So those are my tips.
Awesome. I'm sure our listeners will be really appreciative, because there's so many things to think about, and sometimes we just need a place to start. So I appreciate you sharing that. So I'm wondering if during this pandemic, you've come up with any fun recipes with ChipMonk, or you've created new fun ways to use the ChipMonk recipe to create something new and innovative.
I wouldn't call it new, but I love making cookie sandwiches with ice cream. So I'll take some Rebel ice cream and I sandwich it between 2 ChipMonk bites or 2 cookies, and I have a good time. I only eat half of it though, just to keep my portions down. It's a lot of calories, but it's also a lot of extra sweeteners that I don't want to overdo.
That sounds yummy to me, especially we've had some hot weather here in Northern California lately. So an ice cream sandwich sounds yummy.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
haven't had one in a really long time, but I used to really like those. I mean, think back in the day before Chip Witch, just the original, the chocolate cookie on top with the white ice cream in the middle. Like I'm going back like 40
Those-
years now,
yeah.
but I liked those original ones. They were kind of my favorite. Um,
We used to do whoopie pies, so we would
oh, I
make
remember whoopie pies.
we made an icing out of butter and cream cheese and our sweetener, and then we'd flavor it differently. We'd sandwich it between two cookies and sell those at farmers markets. Unfortunately, the shelf life is really short with products like that, so they need to be refrigerated. But we do have a recipe on our website for that specific whoopie pie, so you guys can check
Ooh,
it out.
okay, I love that. So we'll have to make sure that we put that in the show notes so everybody can see the recipe for that whoopie pie. I think that they might appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's always fun to do since we're quarantining anyway, right? And we're
Might as
not able
well.
to go out and about. You might as well take a fun recipe and make that with the kids.
Have some fun baking. Yeah,
Pardon?
but have some fun baking. Why not?
Definitely. So are there any new flavors that you guys are planning for the future? What do you guys see what's coming down the pipeline?
So in the future, I mentioned earlier that we have cookies and we have bites. We're thinking about launching a lot of our cookie flavors as bites, just to offer more options. Instead of eating a whole cookie, you can, have a bite, which is half the size. So it also allows for people to have multiple bites at a time and, vary your options. Variety is definitely the spice of life. I'm very passionate about that. So the more options we can give people to, mix and match their sweets, the more likely they are to keep coming back uh, you know, for our specific sweets.
Are there any other problems you're looking to solve given this challenge that you experience, or the fact that you love sweets and you're looking to eat, or you're not able to eat certain things, so you're trying to create a different line, and that's how you created Chipmunk? But are there other items that you're looking to create as a result that you miss on a day-to-day basis?
All the time. Yeah. I mean,
So next on the list.
exactly. Well, I mean, bread is a huge one for me. Really anything that has a lot of carbs in it that I can't have is something that I miss, especially bread being like top of the list, but savory snacks like crackers and things along those lines. So I've definitely dabbled at making something savory versus something sweet. We don't need as much of our sweetener in something savory. And I really just want to have some variety. I accidentally made Hawaiian rolls once upon a time. Those are really
What's a
good.
Hawaiian roll?
The Hawaiian roll is like what you have at Thanksgiving. They're like sweet breads.
You need to tell me more. I'm not sure what this is. Is this a Midway? Is this something from Texas?
I'm not, honestly, I have no idea. I
Hawaiian
thought
thing?
maybe it had,
I'm from the East Coast. I've never heard of this.
yeah, they're amazing. You need to find some.
Is it a cinnamon roll with raisins?
No, it's like a white bread, but it's like buttery and like sweet, and it's so bad for you, but it's so good.
Pineapple?
No, I don't think so. Just plain old buttery rolls.
And it's called Hawaiian roll?
Hawaiian rolls, yeah.
Okay, I've never heard of this. I need to look up Hawaiian rolls.
It's literally the only thing that I look forward to for Thanksgiving. It's like my favorite item of all time.
Okay,
So
well, today is October what? October 5th. You've got a little over a month to make your keto Hawaiian rolls.
That would be an amazing product. So I'll get to work.
You get to for that. I want to have on my doorstep before Thanksgiving.
I'll give you a sample.
Awesome. So just, I'm so appreciative that you've been able to come on and have this conversation, share your story with listeners. And before we wrap up, I would just love for you maybe to share the impact you hope to have on the future of food. I know in terms of your specific desire to create your line, but on the larger sense, would love for you to share that.
Yeah, honestly, there's sugar in everything that we eat, from ketchup to bread to cookies. I'd love for the world to become more aware of that and to fight back, because no one's going to do anything about it unless, the people buying the goods say that they don't want to do it anymore. So, just bring about this like conscious awakening of like how bad sugar is for you and how much sugar we have in our diet. So yeah, lowering sugar across the board, across all foods. I think there's a lot of sweeteners that we can use to keep the same sweetness if we must, but make it with a lot less processed, refined things. And then, get back on the wholesome, like clean ingredient train. Vegetables shouldn't have to cost more than processed flour. So that's something that I'm hoping to, have some sort of influence in one way or another.
I love that. I mean, I don't love sweets to be like, I like something a little sweet, but I often think things are way too sweet. And you could put one date in something and it's far sweeter than any sugar that you're going to put in that recipe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sometimes playing with some of those types of products or those or using those, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Like alternative sweeteners.
Exactly, using those alternative versus the sugar. We need to play with them so that we can understand, because off the bat, they can often just be too sweet. And then we can sort of scale it back even to see how far we can go, to see when we like this and how far we can get it so that it's as least sweet as possible and we still really like it.
Exactly. I have a lot of friends that go overseas and they stay there for extended periods of time, and they come back and their sweet taste buds have changed. They're like, this is too sweet now. It's like everything just really depends. So if you wean yourself off of sweets, even for a few weeks, I promise you that going back to the way you were eating before is going to be just overly sweet for you. So there is hope. That's what I'm saying. I don't have as high of a sweet tooth as I did before. I actually like really enjoy vegetables now because I was forced to. And now I have vegetables for any like major meal.
Well, I'm with you, and I don't love sweet things. Every now and again, I like something a little sweet, but even now when I go to get my matcha, my frozen matcha, I tell them, please leave out the sugar, leave out the dates, leave out this, leave out anything with an aftertaste that makes it sweet. They're like, you don't want anything? I'm like, no, don't even put apple juice in it because I don't like the sweets. And they're looking at me like I've got 6 heads. I think it's just because for so long I've just not eaten so many sweets that like you said, my taste buds have changed. So if everyone starts to do that just a little bit more, I'm sure the impact will be compounding. And before they know it, they'll be wanting less and less sweets. So I'm on your bandwagon. Together, we're going to help people realize they don't need as many sweets as they think that they do.
But when they do, go to chipmunkbaking.com and get some cookies and bites.
Awesome. I love that. Well, I'm so glad that you joined us. I'm so glad to learn a little bit about your short story and share it here on Essential Ingredients. And I want to thank our listeners for joining us. And for those of you that are not subscribed to the Essential Ingredients channel and want to hear this and other podcasts, join us and subscribe to the channel. You can meet Jose here, and you can also connect with him once I invite him to join us on the Next Gen Chef platform, and connect with him one-on-one as well as the rest of the community. We have an app, and there's also a website. You can learn more about us at nextgenchef.com. You can learn more about me at justinereichman.com, and tune in for more podcasts each week, Monday at 6 a.m.